What is happening, people? Welcome back to another video. Firstly, if you're new here, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. There is quite a lot to get through, and the breaking news, of course, is that Conor Benn has just signed a multi-year five-fight deal that will keep him at Zuffa Boxing up until 2028. I just wanted to give my immediate thoughts on that, and I guess what it means for Conor Benn's career. I think the length of the deal, firstly, and the fact that he's committed his future up until 2028 is a little bit surprising. Is the fact that he re-signed with Zuffa Boxing surprising in itself? No, I think a lot of people, including Eddie Hearn, has sort of said that he expected Conor Benn to continue his involvement with Zuffa. Now, the reason why I think the length of the contract that he signed with Zuffa is surprising is because I thought he wouldn't commit that much time to Zuffa, in the sense that I thought his next deal would be, okay, we've signed a one fight deal with Regis Prograis. I thought this deal would be a one fight deal with Zuffa for Ryan Garcia for the WBC world title, which is something that he wants, and I guess is something that will be in negotiations next. I think that is something that will be Conor's next fight, and so it's quite surprising that he signed for five fights and for up until 2028, because that would, I guess, for a start, for Conor Benn, who is someone who, whether you like him or hate him, he's a ticket seller and he will sell tickets. The guy's done three back-to-back shows, so he can sell tickets and he will sell tickets. But I was just surprised that he committed his future for that long. I guess it does provide a little bit more clarity as to why Zuffa signing for 15 million with Regis Prograis. I guess this was a continuation of that relationship. And yeah, does it make that $15 million in one fight look a lot more worthwhile from a business standpoint? I don't know. I guess what's missing from this piece of information is the amount that they're paying him over five fights. Was that $15 million a sort of, we're gonna put more money up front and then we're gonna pay you over the duration of the contract? We're gonna pay you in increments as opposed to giving you a set sum. I don't know. It might be. It might turn out that, I don't know, it's 30, $40 million. So $15 million for each Prograis, and then an extra 25, $30 million for five fights. It could be structured that way. I guess there's so many different points and arms that you can structure a deal, and it's quite intricate when you get into the nitty gritty of it. Again, Matchroom are in. They said they are going to press legal charges, or they're in some sort of legal settlement with Conor Benn's team. They want an apology from his team. They want, I guess this was a way of snookering them, because if it was dressed up as a one fight deal, um, I guess Matchroom can then say, well, the fact that they've continued to work together in negotiation shows that it was never a one fight deal, and therefore, it was dressed up that, but in reality it wasn't. So they could pursue legal charges that way. I guess it'll be financially, it'll be great for Conor Benn, but it seems to me that that's the route he's going down. That's the sort of avenue he wants to go down. He wants to secure the money, ultimately make sure his children are happy. I'm sure his children are happy regardless. I'm sure if he was still signed with Matchroom Boxing, I'm sure he would. I'm sure he's not going hungry. Let's just say that. But I guess when someone comes in $15 million to fight Regis Prograis, I don't think that's the issue. I think it's the way in which he done it, which is the issue. But yes. So just concluding thoughts from that. I'm not surprised that he continued with Zuffa Boxing. I'm just surprised that it's come out that it's a five fight, 2.5 year deal. I thought it would just be another one or two more fight deal with Zuffa Boxing. I guess it's good for Zuffa in the sense that they've got him locked down now. They've got one of Britain's best boxing, I guess, stars to sign with them. Another sort of angle to throw into the mix is that Sky Sports have just signed a five fight deal with Zuffa. So look, I guess that would allow, say, if Benn's fighting out in the States, if he fights Ryan Garcia, Sky can post that fight on their platform, and you can still have a presence here while also conquering America. A lot of fighters want to build a presence here and then go to America. Ricky Hatton, great example, God rest his soul. He had an army, a litany of fans that would travel around everywhere with him. That moment where the Ricky Hatton's army outsings Floyd Mayweather's army out in America is something else, and just goes to show how much fanfare and love that he had. But does Conor Benn have that sort of pull that will thousands upon thousands go out to support him in out in the US? I don't know. I don't think so. But yeah, I guess for him, Zuffa's deal with Sky Sports means if he fights in the US, he can have a UK presence, but he can also have a US presence overseas. And I guess it covers both markets there. From a Sky Sports perspective, again, it helps because they're coming back into boxing now. And they've signed this deal with Zuffa, they've signed this deal with, I think, with MVP and Jake Paul. So, you know, and to have someone like Conor Benn to be on their platform, this it's going to drive subscriptions, and it's going to drive numbers. Also, this looming story that's been breaking out at the moment, and that is with Saudi Arabia. They've invested a lot of money into sport as a whole to improve their image. This thing with Live Golf, they've pulled fund, or they're pulling funding for that. They've bought out a lot of golfers from, I think, the PGA Tour to come over to Live Golf. They've pulled the funding on that because it's not been commercially viable for them. So it was said previously that they were the ones that were funding Conor Benn's $50 million with Regis Prograde. It'd be interesting to see if they're gonna put up a lot of money in a time where they are starting to cut back. Live Golf is the headline one, but they've also scrapped plans to host a rugby tournament in 2035. They've just sold Al Hilal, 70% of Al Hilal to a Saudi billionaire, a trillion, well, yeah, a Saudi billionaire. So I guess they are trying to cut back and put on fights that are gonna make commercial sense. And yeah, I just think it's interesting to see how much they're gonna pay him and whether they're gonna front the bill, which I'm sure they are because they own most of TKO Group. They've got a big event in Egypt, in Cairo. I really want to go to that, as a side note, but that's their next, I guess, big fight that they are going to put on. And it's a really good undercard there, and I think that they are going to try and make things a little bit more commercially viable for them. Um, it'd be interesting to see the ticket how the ticketing works and how they're gonna put that event on at the foot of the pyramids in Giza. Obviously they've got the small amount of Tyson Fury against Anthony Joshua. It's been announced that well, it's not been announced, but I guess that fight is imminent, and it looks like AJ is gonna have a warm up fight in July, and then he's gonna go in big in November time for Netflix. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and how much money is going to be around, and the Saudi influence, and there's a lot of these overarching factors that I guess play into the sport. Considering, as I mentioned, how intertwined the Saudis are with the sport. But in terms of who he could fight next, I mean, it is looking like it's going to be Ryan Garcia. Talks have been progressing, apparently, according to Boxing Scene, and that they're reaching the later stages. So I guess that'll be finalized soon. He can return to camp. And yeah, he is number one for the WBC. And I do want to end with this, actually, because I've gone on for a bit, but Chris Billam-Smith has just signed with Zuffa. Conor Benn is number one ranked in the WBC. Now, look, in order for that fight to go ahead with Ryan Garcia, Zuffa are going to have to make some, I mean, the deal with Conor Benn's already signed, so they are going to have to make some concessions with the WBC. They are going to have to find a way for them to work together, for the WBC and Zuffa to work together. So be interesting to see how that relationship goes, whether they can build a relationship going forward. They are they are signing a lot more talent now. So as you sign a lot more talent, there is going to be that crossover effect where, some are going to come already champions. They've signed Richardson Hitchens. I think he was the IBF. So they are going to have to, I guess they are going to have to make that relationship. They're gonna have to make a relationship with the sanctioning bodies work. And also another thing to add to the mix is that obviously there's this Ali Boxing Revival Act that's gone to the Senate. It went from the Congress to Senate, and essentially, you got the likes of Oscar De La Hoya. They're going to speak at a committee hearing. You got Nick Khan, who's an executive at the TKO Group. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. Nico Ali Walsh, who I think is a grandson of the late great Muhammad Ali, he's along with the WBC has signed the Ali Alliance Act to basically counteract anything that's going to go ahead with the Ali Boxing Revival Act. So I guess if the Ali Revival Act doesn't go ahead, then maybe the sanctioning bodies might consider working with Zuffa, or if it does go ahead, they might still, I don't know. But yeah, a lot of overarching factors to tie into Conor Benn's deal with Zuffa, and a lot of other things to consider. But anyway, guys, leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Who do you think Conor Benn's going to fight next, and what do you think this means for boxing in the UK? It's going to be in Sky Sports, and what do you think it means for Zuffa boxing? Will it survive? Will it thrive? Will it compete and hold up against established promoters like Macho and Queensbury? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Peace.